In our series, continuing it today with a great presentation. It's going to be, I think, helpful to all of us. As you know, we've been holding during Men's Appreciation, the Ownership Month, Home Ownership Month, the various seminars and a lot of great information has been shared. We welcome all of you here today to listen to one of the top professionals in our industry. And his name is Sebastian Washington. Sebastian is, as I say, well versed in the subject matter for today, which is make your best move ever. And I'll let that kind of hang out there because he's got an angle on this I think you'll appreciate. But he's going to share with you now, and we'll be taking questions and answering them as they come in. And Sebastian, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being with us. And again, what's going on in your world?
All right, Peter. First of all, I want to thank you as well as the team at Increasing Hope for, first of all, inviting me and thinking about me when it comes to the subject matter of real estate. And it's even more of a bonus to talk about men as it deals with real estate as we celebrate Father's Day this month, and as well as Homeowner Appreciation Month. So it's actually a big month in terms of the world of real estate. So first of all, I just kind of want to thank you guys for inviting me to this platform. I hope I don't scare anyone away because I get really excited when I start talking about real estate. This is just something that I'm very passionate about. I believe I live in one of the greatest cities that there is in the U.S., and we are seeing what some are calling unprecedented times in terms of what real estate is here in the Charleston area. So I had a few bullet points that I wanted to share. First bullet point I was going to talk about today was just the market and how it is here in the Charleston area as compared to other areas. And the second bullet point I wanted to talk about was buying versus renting. Can you afford not to buy? And some of the caveats that go along with not being renting versus buying. So the whole buying and renting is a big topic of discussion today, especially in the Charleston market. And thirdly, and lastly, is overcoming obstacles. When it comes to home ownership, one of the things that I sense, I hear, especially when it comes to men, is some of the obstacles that they incur when they are trying to enter or continue on the path of home ownership. So I guess I'll start there. I think sometimes the first thing to do is get the elephant out of the room, so to speak. Peter, I hope you agree with me on that. And I think if I've experienced one obstacle when it comes to men in real estate, it's sometimes confidence. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the marketplace in terms of the ferocity in which the market is expanding. You're probably able to drive to work every day and see things popping up, see homes popping up, see your friends purchasing homes, seeing your family members purchasing homes. So sometimes those things can be a little bit intimidating. So I think that's a big point that I wanted to kind of talk to, if I could talk to the men about and say to you, be confident about what your goals are and your dreams are. If you have been, or you are the type of person that is saying to yourself, I want to be a homeowner, then you can do it. I have a philosophy in which I go by, and that is, it's not if you can, but it's when you can. And I believe organizations like Increasing Hope are the reason why. They will allow you professionals to talk to get the information firsthand that you need in order to move forward. And I'm sure, Peter, you guys are probably dealing a lot with first-time home buyers or people interested in real estate as first-time home buyers. Am I correct?
Absolutely, and they come wondering what to do next.
Yeah. So what to do next is pretty much stick to the plan. two key elements that I try to encourage people to do, and that is to stay disciplined and to stay consistent in their efforts. I tend to believe that a lot of times it's not necessarily a wallet issue, it's more of a head issue. So they want to know what to do next. There's going to be opportunities where you're going to say to yourself, well, how do I go about getting financing for a particular property? And I would say to you, you'd have to begin. You'd have to first start with an organization like Increasing Hope, where they kind of peel back the onion and kind of let you see where you are. The unique thing about real estate is everyone is going to have a different starting point, you know? So it's difficult to say for one person where their starting point might be in regards to someone else's starting point, if you can understand what I'm saying. There are several myths that are associated with homeownership. One of the biggest myths that National Association of Realtors has stated that people have is this misconception that there's a 20% down that you will need to pay. So that can potentially be a barrier for someone trying to come up with that type of capital or that type of cash in order to purchase their first home. So these are just some of the obstacles that I have seen come my way. Another obstacle that I see is the preparation of paperwork. As we proceed with the process of home ownership, you're going to be asked to provide certain documents, financial documents, tax return documents. All these financial documents are going to need to be in place in order for you to begin to move forward. So again, if you're an individual that you're in the process of thinking about home ownership, one of the first things that I would recommend you doing is to start by gathering all your documentation so that when you do begin the process, things will be just that much easier. You'll have those documents on hand. I want to go back to bullet point 1 and kind of talk a little bit about the market, if I could. I'm going to read you a statement by the National Association of Realtors. Since the market bottom in 2010, the Charleston real estate market has been steadily rising. We've seen increases in number of sales and listings each year, as in increases in the average prices of homes in the area. As of February 2021, the average sale price in the Charleston real estate market is, can anybody guess? $445,000.
Hello.
Yes. So sometimes those things are hard to swallow, but when you kind of can take them in their totality of a market like Charleston, where you have such expansive tourism and historical districts that we do, then you can kind of see where those numbers derive. They're saying that never has any real estate, any market in recorded history been like the market that we're experiencing today. That's a huge statement. And the word that they're using to describe it is unprecedented. And I would agree. Would you agree with that as well, Peter?
Yeah, I think what we're finding is that properties are moving so quickly that you don't even get a chance to. You better make it your best shot right out of the box, because they're moving so fast.
Yeah, I just in case in point, and what I wanted to try to do today was just trying to give you some real live scenarios from the battlefield. I hate to call it a battlefield, but that's the type of effort that potential homeowners are having to make as they enter into the market. I've got a new family that I'm working with. They just moved here from Georgia. There was a job transfer. The couple is here from Georgia. They're currently renting. The rent has increased the short time that they've been here, so they've made a decision to begin to buy. And they are alarmed at the pace in which I'm requesting the documentation or requesting the signatures for them to put in the contracts. And of course, this is not our first contract that we're writing an offer on. Most of the contracts with the home sales today are entering into what they call multiple offer situations, where it's going to be you and maybe a few other people bidding on the same property. So it's just an intense type of market. And you know, with that being said, I still, being a native of the Charleston area, watching each of the different parts of the Lowcountry expand, I don't necessarily feed into so much of the fear, because I know that there are always options. It's just trying to find the right property for the right person. A little bit of patience sometimes is what's in order. And as a matter of fact, the National Association of Realtors just recently did another survey. They said extra confidence is a plus. Our recent survey finds that more homeowners than normal are planning to list their homes for sale in the next 12 months. So what a lot of homeowners are probably hearing about now is just this, you know, this supply chain getting clogged up from the pandemic. And I don't know about you guys, but especially me as a man, I learned a lot about myself during the pandemic, both as a homeowner, as a father and a husband, and as well as a real estate professional. There's just so much to unpack when it comes to what COVID has done to this real estate climate that we're experiencing right now. You hear a lot of the new home builders talking about the rising cost of lumber, like lumber literally doubling in cost. Now that's just not going to be your lumber. That's going to be your doorknobs, your hinges, all those other little parts that come along with the with real estate. And just another little caveat that I kind of really like to guide me here about the real estate market in Charleston. They did a survey or a study, North American Moving Services, top 3 states where people are leaving. People are leaving one place, coming to where we are. New York, California, Illinois, top 3 states people are leaving. Top 3 states, Idaho, Arizona, and you guessed it, right here in South Carolina, the good old-fashioned Lowcountry. And you can kind of take a look at the weather and you can kind of guess why. And another large part of that is the industry that's here. There's just so much in industry here. People are flocking to the Charleston area, trying to find new employment opportunities, and they're just taking advantage of the market that we have here. So it can be a very positive thing, but for people trying to get into this market, it sometimes can be a little bit confusing. I want to talk about that a little bit, if I can, Peter, just about in terms of what I've been running into with some of the male clients. I realize that everyone's a little different. The thing that I think for me that I noticed the most is you have to really be careful when you're looking at someone else's personal situation and trying to make it fit yours. A lot of people hear a lot of things. Oh, someone did this, someone bought a house here, or I heard about this program. I think one of the things that really need to be discussed is like what you said earlier, the process. I think that as individuals find, or especially men, we find that we can have a whole team of resourceful people providing us with the necessary and correct information that we need, and it's probably going to save us time and money in the long run. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The team you put together around you, we teach this a lot, Sebastian, and you know this. is that you don't want to do this by yourself. You want to get a group of professionals together in various aspects of this process so that you're getting the best possible advice and it's leading you in the right direction. And that's a big tenet of what we believe and what we teach here.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, for me, it's I do call it personal because it is personal because I'm so passionate about it, and I won't make any bones about it. It's just the dollars and cents of what's really going on, and that's going to bring me to my second little bullet point. Can you afford not to buy? I do have a disclaimer. I have nothing against or don't mean to offend anyone that may be renting. I do not have any problem with anyone that is in a situation where they are currently renting. I believe that buying allows you an opportunity to create legacy and building wealth for you and your family. So can you afford not to buy? You know, a client of a certain age, maybe a little late in age, buying his first home, there's no problem with that. But just imagine, especially for the young men out there, if you could begin this process so much more earlier in your life, by the time you get to that certain age or to become of a certain age where you're thinking about things a little differently, that home ownership equity umbrella, now you're able to take advantage of that and create a legacy for you and your family. That's just off the top for me, one of the biggest things and the biggest takeaways in terms of purchasing. And I actually have been seeing some certain trends as of late, and some of them I'm excited about, and some of them I'm not so excited about. And one of the trends that I'm seeing lately is the millennial generation. The millennial generation has began to enter into this real estate buying dynamic. Early on, a few years ago, there was a lot of talk within the real estate industry about our thought process about what we believe the millennials were all about. We were thinking they were somewhat disengaged, didn't want to tie themselves to certain things, but I think what I've seen is they have had a view of the economic downturn from the early 2000s. Their parents or their sisters or family members, sisters and brothers and family members may have experienced some negative aspects of the downturn, and they may feel a little differently about that. But now they're a little older. They're a little more have a little more tenure on their occupations. During the COVID scenario, the COVID crisis, a lot of them were able to work from home, or maybe even consider moving to other locations because they had the affordability to work from home. So that is a big bonus. Being an African American male, studies say there are 1.7 million African American millennials ready to buy. They may not know they're ready to buy, but they are ready to buy and some of them are considering buying. They're considering families. They're considering just the comfort of being able to personalize their homes and things of this nature themselves. And the biggest thing I believe they're seeing is just the year-over-year value in property growth. I'll give you an example. Client purchased a townhouse last year. During last year, there was this conversation to some degree that maybe I shouldn't have a townhouse, maybe I should have a single family. You run into those kind of conversations from time to time in the industry. Townhouse is purchased. There's there's today the same townhouse, the same townhouse in that row of townhouse is selling for $50,000 more, and it hasn't been 1 year yet. 1 year since the sale of that townhouse. That's extraordinary gain. So equity is a big thing. The last home ownership equity report from CoreLogistics noted that the average homeowner gained $26,300 in equity over the past year. There isn't one man out there that I believe that would say to themselves that isn't an opportunity that I wouldn't mind taking for myself. And that's kind of the bones of it. It's just being able to take a chance on yourself, to take an investment into yourself. It goes back to the process, you know, and thinking about having this conversation today, Peter. I thought a lot about the process and some of the things we do as realtors. We talk about, finding out whether you're pre-approved before you want to go ahead and start the emotional house hunting or the house searching, and that is a really good part of it. But I think for me, the whole thing that I encourage individuals to do is if you're going to make the commitment to become a homeowner, continue to be disciplined, continue to be consistent, and rely on your team in order to get you through the process. Because, I wrote a contract for a couple. I want to say it was for a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. They were excited that they were wanting to write the contract on the 3-bedroom, 1-bath home, but they really know they wanted 2 bathrooms. All right. So in order for them to get two bathrooms, they were going to need to do a few things financially in order to make the adjustments so that they could be able to have that element of their wish list added on to the home. But those are some of the unique things specific to individuals that people may need to do. And another reason why I believe in the home ownership aspect a little bit more than I do the rental aspect is home ownership offers what they're using the term nowadays, forced savings. We run into situations all the time where, you're just going through the motions of a day-to-day life. At the end of the year, you paid your rent. At the end of the year, you're just looking to re-sign your lease at the end of the year. As a homeowner, now you're watching property value grow, you're watching equity level grow, and you're watching potential change in your family's financial dynamic because you have made that initial investment from renting versus buying. You have anything you might want to add, Peter, about the rental versus buying scenario?
I think you covered it. I think the issue for a lot of folks is, I don't know how to say this other than just say it. They're scared of the process. It's like, this is the first time I've ever done this, and we're talking about a lot of money. I'm about ready to write my name at the bottom and sign a mortgage. And how do you counsel folks through the process? So that'd be just of interest, I think, to some of the folks listening.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing to it is just to kind of just to rip the packaging open and say to a potential client, you've got a financial institution that's they're willing to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in. Okay, they're willing to do it, but there's a process in which you have to go through. I'm not a financial person, but to each individual, their financial situation may be a little bit different. I would encourage them, or I would walk them through the process of telling them about the different loan options that they have available for each individual. Again, each individual's personal situation is going to be uniquely different. I personally try to, kind of hear the story. I'm kind of like you when it comes to how I operate my business. I love that face-to-face, that meeting with potential clients. It kind of really gives me the idea of the personality of the people, and that helps match potential clients up with potential lenders. Each lender is going to offer a different type of portfolio package that their company offers, and finding a good match is typically one of the first things that I like to do during the process. So the second stage of the process is figuring out whether you can qualify or not. I hear conversations all the time. I run into conversations all the time, especially from men. They have a lot of ideas. Hey, I'd like to buy a property out in the country, and or hey, I'd like to invest in this particular property. Or my wife and we've been talking about buying a home. I think the first thing that the realism that has to happen is the financial lender needs to unpack the situation and find out where you are. Sometimes there might have to be adjustments to be made. There are a few things that are going to be required across the board. Credit scores. There's going to be a certain credit score that a person is going to need to have. There's also outstanding debt or debt that the potential homeowner is going to have to look at and potentially make some adjustments here or there. And speaking of debt, one of the things that has surfaced lately when it comes to debt, especially today, has been the student loan. You've got a large population that have become first-generation college graduates, looking to become first-generation homeowners. Sometimes that first-generation college degree may potentially come at a price depending on the type of debt associated with it. The government's been trying to do a few different things over the years to kind of soften that blow of higher education. It's an unfortunate scenario some of these folks find themselves in, but again, it's never a situation whether you can't. It's sometimes just a matter of when, or making the necessary adjustments to make those things happen. And that goes across the board for all or most of those initial things that lenders are going to require. I would never let a credit score scare me away. A credit score, someone approaches me and says, "Oh, Sebastian, my credit score is in the tank." Yeah, okay. What else you got? It's only going to be a part of everything that's going to need to be done. So again, it goes back to the level of being confident and about what the journey that you're about to embark on. So we can address things like credit score. We can take care of those things. You've got professionals, right there at Increasing Hope, or the partners that we have that can help you do those things. You don't have to potentially watch an infomercial at 2 o'clock in the morning to get advice, or read a sign off of a telephone pole in order to do that. You've got professionals right here willing to help you at all costs. The next part, let's just give the hypothetical of the consumer going through the process, or the client going through the process of making all the necessary adjustments in terms of what they might need to do for their credit score or for their debt, and they've gotten the pre-approval. That pre-approval is like gold to someone like myself, a real estate agent. That's going to tell me that, hey, these folks are serious about their future and becoming homeowners. They're doing the necessary things that it takes in order to become a homeowner. They're ready to begin a property search. So what I would potentially do at that time, if just to kind of sit down with them and let them know, hey, listen, your financial institution, your bank has come back to us and say, you guys are qualified for whatever this number is. Now we just have to figure out how much home can you afford? You know, how much home can you afford? You know, the same home in Charleston County may at the end cost you a little differently at another home in Berkeley County. You know, they're what sometimes are known as hidden costs, simple things, maybe not so simple things nowadays, but simple things like taxes, insurance, and things of that nature have to all be taken into consideration. Also, some of the neighborhoods around the Charleston and surrounding areas, they have HOA fees, association fees associated with them, regime fees associated with them, certain costs that have to be transferred. And all these are things that are discussed prior to going out to see a particular property. Peter, I know you kind of deal with a lot of these issues on the front end. Do you see the willingness when clients come and they may not be qualified? Do you ever run into scenarios like that where they're not qualified and they and their attitude about getting qualified?
That's a great question. Actually, it's in the Q&A right now, and I had this happen today. A client came in and actually over the phone was wanting very badly to purchase a home, and the spouse, it was a him and her spouse was negative and didn't want to. And I want to start there to answer your question, Sebastian, because if the couple is not together on the same page, we need to help them find that common ground. And that's something that I know that perhaps as a realtor you see from time to time. Am I
right? Very often. And, you know, when I was approached about the today, men, home ownership, Father's Day, all of these different things, the togetherness, the unit of the family, the decision making. And listen, I'm a straight up guy. I'm married. I have a wife. I have two voices, and being on the same page helps. As a matter of fact, my first introduction to the Increasing Hope organization was about just that, being able to be counsel so that both the husband and the wife, or the two parties, can just be on the same page about moving forward. It is a difficult scenario to have to deal with, and you do run into that. I actually have an experience now where the husband does majority of the communicating with me, but he sends me to the wife to make the final decision. And sometimes it offers itself to be one big merry-go-round. Just trying to get everyone to understand, okay, what's necessary, what's needed, what time, in order to make a transaction smooth. And I guess for me, Peter, that probably is the biggest part of what I see in terms of the process. If homeownership is the goal, I want to let everyone know, or anyone watching know, that if it's something that you really want to do, it's very, very possible. It's just a matter of when. And that togetherness is what's going to make that little engine go. You really need to be on the same page. Economically, today, in today's time, I just go back to the dollars and cents of it. If I've got an audience of men, and I know they're probably women too, but if I've got an audience of men and we're just talking about it from the transactional part of this, it's very motivational sometimes, you know. We're looked at as the leaders of our households. We're looked at as protectors of our household. So sometimes we carry a lot of that with us. I do, you know, from time to time, I'll have more women encouraging the husbands in order to be a part of the process. I grew up with not necessarily a lot of encouragement in my adult life. That's all I do. I give encouragement. That's all I do. There isn't any reason not to be encouraged about your future. You know, sometimes what I see is testimonials, Peter. Testimonials for me seem to kind of win over couples or two people trying to make a decision in regards to how to move forward with home ownership. You know, just letting someone know that someone before them has done something just like that. You know, they bought a home. They were able to overcome their issues. They were able to make the necessary agreements about where to live, or, you know, or is this the right time to buy? You know, so a lot of those decisions are part of a family's dynamic. A lot of them are personal. I'll tell you one that's even a little bit better than the potential husband and the wife. I also have, or you experience so many different things out here. It's the wife, the husband, and the pets. Pets have begun to, you know, not to say that too trivially, but pets also begin to dictate home ownership as well. I find that children are also a large contributing factor to husbands, wives, or parents or adults making decisions in regards to real estate. Got a scenario now, senior in high school. I'm not moving, mom and dad. You know, but what's important to a family is what's important to a family. So I can understand. But these are just some of the obstacles and pitfalls that you run into out here.
Can I ask you another question, or I'm going to change it into a question? It was a concern that was raised here, and that has to do with a positive statement of if I'm visiting with you as my realtor for the first time, what should I expect from you? What do I need to produce? What type of conversation are we going to have? And what's our goal? Can you share how you take a look at a potential client from your perspective?
Actually, Peter, that is a brilliant question. It's not a good question. It's a brilliant question. And I want to make sure I say this the right way, and I'm not going to dodge the question, but the truth of the question is it's different for everyone. It really is going to be different for everyone. You know, I'm going to get a client that says, hey, listen, I'm going to be here for 5 years, you know, versus a client that says, hey, I'm going to be here probably for the next 10 to 15 years. Or you've got a client that says, I'm going to be looking for my forever home. So you've got a lot of different scenarios that are going to come into play when you're dealing with each individual. So the first thing that I'm going to do, like I said, when we meet, is I'm going to try to get a true assessment and a true valuation is as to what it is that you're going to be looking for in order to become a homeowner. I'm going to ask you questions like, are there certain timelines that you're trying to meet? I'm going to ask you questions like, do you have an existing property that you may need to sell? Do you have any bankruptcies, liens, or anything, your name tied to any other properties? I'm going to ask you questions like that in order to take the next step. I'm going to make sure that your financial situation is in place. I'm going to make sure that your lender and I are on the same page. It's almost as if when you hire a realtor, you're hiring your coordinator. your right hand, that person that's going to be there to fill you in, to say, hey, listen, I've just spoken to your mortgage lender. They're saying that you need to have these type of funds available for your particular loan package. I'm going to make sure that you're doing those things. I'm going to verify those things. I'm going to be nudging you along all the way through the process. I'm going to be researching properties. Most homeowners today, most potential homeowners today, they do spend a lot of time online, scrolling, looking for that perfect property. One of the things that I believe I pride myself in as an agent is finding that property. And also the other thing is, when it seems impossible, it only seems impossible until it's done. And that's the type of energy and the type of information that I try to give a potential client when they're entering into the process. I try to be forthcoming to let them know that even if everything is done correctly, you still have things that may or may not occur. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is expectation. Sometimes, especially in today's market, Peter, there's an expectation that a realtor is going to just kick, not necessarily kick the door down, but kick the door down and say, hey, listen, this is the house for you, and I'm going to make sure that you get in this house. Today's market has changed. It's a different place. I find that patience typically wins offers and bids on properties. I find that being in the right place at the right time typically wins offers and bids. But I try to walk them through the process and let them know that, hey, listen, once we start this, I'm going to make sure that we can finish this. That timeline is going to be dependent on a few things, Peter. It's going to be dependent on today's market. I'll give you an example of some of the things that we've had to deal with here. Used to be where in the business, not even a year ago, a property would stay on the market for 30 days, 20 days for a homeowner to go in and try to make a decision, go home, sleep at night, pray about, come back the next day and say, Sebastian, I think we're going to go ahead and write an offer on this particular property. Those things have changed. It's fast-paced. One of the most important things that we're experiencing now, as we get to a point as a realtor, we get to a point where we're beginning to look at homes. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that these properties are inspected. The buyer has protections written into the contracts. We'll discuss the contract, 8-page contract, full of legalese. We break the contract down line by line, just kind of giving you an idea of what you'd be looking at as we present your offer to a potential seller. We'll be able to get a bird's eye view as what a seller might be looking for in an offer to help shape our offer. So we kind of really retool each individual scenario particular to each individual.
So, okay, I got one more for you. Let's keep coming. But by the way, thanks for sharing this. It's been exciting that you're taking the time today to share a day in the life of Sebastian. I have a question though that has come up here, and that has to do with buying the right house. And by that, I think this person means not too much, not too little, like just right. Like you can be overextended at some point, although banks won't let you. But in a frenzied market like we're in right now, how do you handle the, I don't know if the word is a disappointment or the challenge of having to tell a potential buyer that you're not qualified necessarily for what we're looking at here and re-examine the
Yes.
goals?
Yeah, it's become the most difficult part of the industry, Peter. I'll be honest with you. The most difficult part of what I do on a daily basis. I'll give you a scenario real quick to another client. Three children, two are about to leave, and one is an adult child looking for huge property. Can you see what that dynamic might look like in a year for that homeowner struggling in a market today to find a house or a home, a place for their family to be comfortable in? And in 24 months, it's going to be an entirely different place to manage and to keep finance in terms of utility costs, taxation, and that the current rates on the current mortgage on that particular home. It's just one of those things that kind of goes back to what we try to do early on, or what I know I try to do early on, Peter, and that's set expectations. I'm going to set the expectation, with the client to let them know, like, listen, I'm going to be out here grinding, trying to find this particular property. I'm going to be doing everything that I can do for you. And I think at the end of the day, most of the clients, they understand that part of it, but it's just the most difficult part of it. Sometimes that delayed gratification, it doesn't taste very good at all. I know I've had to deal with it myself personally, so I definitely know what that's like. I'll say this though. The stability in home ownership, the potential generation wealth building opportunity in home ownership, the personal pride in home ownership, and a strategic calculated risk. I think any potential buyer today can use that ammunition personally. Like I said, it gets to be about a head game more so than a wallet game at the end of the day. I think that any buyer begins to understand what they need to do, and will begin to interpret that more as an us, our team, we're looking for, more so than putting the burden on themselves to say, oh my gosh, I should be this, I should have been able to do that. I try to stay away from that, because all that will end up doing is kind of, discouraging them, or having them, divert their attention to other methods and other ways that might seem right, but end up being shortcuts, or just not end up being what they need to do for themselves initially. If you can understand what I'm trying to say. But yes, that's a very good question. Not every property is right for every individual. And again, that's going to go back to that initial consultation that we're going to have, and we're going to discuss what your pressure points are. I heard Ms. Dorothea Wirtgen mention this a while back, the B word, your budget. How about that? Your budget is so important, and from time to time, I may send listings out to a potential client. Let's just use the number 200,000, for instance. I may send you a listing. It may not be 200,000. It may be 210,000. Maybe 180,000. So I try to give the clients a flexibility to let them see, listen, at this price point, this is what we're going to be dealing with. And I'll tell you another thing that I really enjoy. It's been difficult initially, but somewhat so rewarding, and it's that's exploring all the opportunities and gems throughout the entire Charleston County area. Sometimes I find that consumers or customers or clients, they lock themselves into a particular area, a particular neighborhood, or a particular type of house, thinking that it only exists in this one area. Sometimes that same opportunity, it exists, but it may exist somewhere else. So sometimes when it gets to be about pricing, it gets to be about the monetary aspect of it, fitting it into a client's budget, and we're going to run through it all. We're gonna make sure, like, well, hey, listen, it's possible for you to have this 3-bedroom house and 2-bath, but maybe it might be on the Dorchester Road side of North Charleston versus the Berkeley County side of Summerville. Those type of things is kind of how I combat that. I do feel that the Charleston market has, I mean, I'll be honest with you. In spite of the frenzy that buyers may be feeling, I love this place. I mean, I love that. I love everything that there is to offer to anyone at any price point looking to purchase a home, Peter. I just do. I just do. I think it's an opportunity for young people to get into the market, or as well as even first, late in life, first-time home buyers to get into it. I just do. The area just has so much to offer. I just feel that if you're willing to do it, lock in and let's go get it. That's just kind of the attitude that I have about it.
That's fabulous, Sebastian. Yeah, one final question for you. This is a bit self-serving, but what happens when you run across somebody who's not quite ready to get going with their purchase? In other words, they got some issues credit-wise or other things like that. What do you do with them?
I'm going to tell you something. You're going to laugh. I love those folks the most. I really do. I love when someone says to me, "Listen, my situation isn't such, but I really, really, really am looking to try to get into the market." I tell them about this nonprofit organization that I network with called Increasing Hope, and I send them to you. I get excited about that because if I know that someone isn't ready, it's not really going to be wise for either of us to waste our time trying to push forth an issue that really isn't ready to manifest itself. I put them in the hands of professionals that deal with the situations that they have in hand. Let them know that they're not alone. Let them know that I'm going to be right here with them when they finish. And also, I continuously try to reinforce the notion that it always seems impossible until it's done. I just go back to that, and that's just a part of the segment that we have here. Make your next move your best move. There's an opportunity to continue to do the same thing over and over, Peter. We both probably have people that have approached us 6 months ago. We may or may not have spoken. We may not have reached back up with our follow-ups. The market has changed just dynamically, just in that short period of time for that individual. And that's the important thing that I would tell that individual. If they're not ready, just stay consistent, plug into the team, and we can get it done.
Well, that's a great way to kind of summarize, first of all, the process, but who you are, Sebastian. We appreciate your time today and taking time to hang out with us here online. And let me just thank you again on behalf of Increasing Hope for the work you do in this community. And we appreciate you very much. Let me close by sharing something here. Whoop.
while we're waiting for Peter, if anyone has any questions, still feel free to put them in the question and answer box. We have just a few more moments, and then we'll be able to answer those questions.
See, I found it with help of my technical assistant. In any event, again, Sebastian, thanks for joining us today. And we'll be gathering again this coming week on June 17th, and what the keys are going to be turned over to the Women's Business Center here. And if you haven't heard about that, it's an exciting operation that is just getting started here in the area, and Increasing Hope has a big part to play in it. So I invite you all to join us this time next week for information about the Women's Business Center and what they're up to. And I just encourage all of you to join us then. It's been great being with all of you. And Sebastian, again, thanks a million. You're a true professional. We appreciate you so much. And that's it for today. God bless you all.
All right. Thank you too, Peter. Thank you, Increasing Hope.